Topping today's news, the police commissioner shares mid-year crime statistics. One suspect in hospital and another under arrest after a shooting incident on Sunday. The central bank shares its first half numbers for 2025, and the Progressive Liberal Party set to host its Central Link-Up rally tonight at Windsor Park. This is your JCN Evening News. I'm Dorino Saunders. Thank you so much for joining us. Police Commissioner Jcn News met with members of the media today and shared crime statistics and trends for the first half of the year. Our Tania Brown was at that press conference and files this report.
Police Commissioner Jcn News has announced major declines in crime across the country. From murders to drug busts, the Commissioner says the first half of 2025 has been one of the most productive periods for the Royal Bahamas Police Force. From record drug seizures to falling homicide rates, Commissioner Knowles indicates that the numbers don't lie.
I am pleased to announce that our mid-year report has proven successful in fulfilling all 6 areas of priority as outlined in my 2025 policing plan. We engage the public and exchange positive discourse in our various communities throughout the Commonwealth. We executed search warrants and detained persons on outstanding warrants of arrest and brought them before the courts. Notably, we seized 196 illegal firearms and 8,369 rounds of ammunition that led to the arrest of 208 persons, which resulted in 143 of them being placed before the courts for possession of illegal firearms and ammunition.
According to police data, major crimes are down nationwide, 30% for crimes against persons and 8% for property-related offenses. So far this year, officers have seized nearly 2,700 pounds of marijuana and over 2,100 pounds of cocaine, along with 196 illegal firearms and more than 8,000 rounds of ammunition.
We arrested 873 persons and charged 680 of them for illegal drug possession offenses. We continue to monitor and be concerned about treats tainted with marijuana, such as candies, oils, edibles, and gummies, which continue to be a major concern for us.
As for murder, it is also down 27%, with 44 killings recorded in the first 6 months, most of them linked to gangs, retaliation, and conflicts. The force is also addressing its internal challenges. 91 complaints were filed against officers, while 67 internal disciplinary cases are under investigation. 2 officers have already been dismissed. Commissioner Knowles also reflects on her time so far as commissioner and says it's all thanks to her team of officers.
It is sometimes tedious, but there is nothing that we can't do as officers when we put our minds together and when we work as one team, and not as I, but a team of officers. Thank you.
In regards to gang-related charges, Commissioner Knowles says they are expected soon under the new Anti-Gang Act, and with more recruits in training, she's hopeful manpower issues can be addressed by the year's end. Reporting for JCN News, I'm Tania Brown.
Thanks for that report, Tania. Police are investigating a shooting incident that occurred on Sunday off East Street shortly after 1:30 p.m. Police were alerted to gunfire on DeVoe Street, just off East Street, and upon arrival, officers observed a vehicle with gun damage and an injured adult male. Reports are that the male was near a business establishment when the occupants of a silver Japanese model vehicle opened fire in his direction before fleeing the scene. The victim was transported to the hospital where he is listed in critical condition. A short time later, officers on mobile patrol observed a vehicle fitting the description traveling along Market Street. When officers attempted to intercept that vehicle, 2 males exited, both armed with firearms. During the encounter, one of the suspects, aged 26, was shot by police, and the other, aged 25, was taken into custody. 2 firearms containing ammunition were recovered from the scene. The injured suspect was transported to the hospital, where he is listed in stable condition. Today, the governor of the Central Bank of the Bahamas, John Roll, held his second quarter press briefing on the economic developments of the Bahamas 2025. We hear what the governor shared in this next report by Clemia Neely.
The Central Bank of the Bahamas held its quarterly press briefing on Monday to discuss the figures from the first half of 2025 in comparison to the second half of 2024. Governor of the Central Bank, John Roll, says the economy continues to expand during the first 6 months of 2025, but at a slightly more moderate speed compared to the second half of 2024. Otherwise, he says the economy benefited from sustained foreign investment activity and increased stimulus from private sector credit.
Commercial banks' purchases of foreign currency from the private sector, which are correlated with tourism, investment, and other activities, rose by 1.3% during January to June 2025 as compared to by 2.2% in the first half of 2024. In contrast, sales of foreign currency, in part stimulated by bank lending, expanded by just over 4%, as opposed to a reduction of just over 2% in the same 6 months last year. This highlighted increased private sector demand on both imported goods and services, with lesser amounts paid for fuel imports and travel.
As for tourism, he said the continued gains reflected a combination of a subdued expansion in stopover receipts compared to a steady and healthy increase in cruise visitor earnings.
As we neared the end of July 2025, external reserves were estimated at $2.95 billion, which was almost about 2% lower than at the same point in 2024, when the outcome had benefited from comparatively healthier tourism growth and some net receipt from the government's external borrowing activities. Summarizing credit trends, domestic banks lending to the private sector strengthened in comparison to 2024, with increased financing broadly across consumer loans, mortgages, and commercial activities.
Governor Roll also went on to say that most of the year-over-year reduction in non-performing loan occurred during the July to December of 2024 period, as opposed to the January to June period of this year.
So turning to the outlook, the central bank continues to expect the economy to grow at a slower pace in 2025 than in 2024. Tourism, as the main engine of growth, is likely to show mixed trends, in particular with the slowest results being in the U.S. stopover components relative to more sustained expansion in vacation rental receipts, non-U.S. stopovers, and return from the cruise segment. Despite the contrast, though, between performance in hotels versus vacation rentals, the central bank analysis of online travel sites and forward-looking bookings and pricing data forecast better hotel sector revenues over the remainder of this year as compared to the second half of last year.
The central bank will maintain accommodation towards stronger domestic credit expansion, closely monitor credit risk indicators, and the sustainability of foreign exchange market trends to promote stability of both the currency and the domestic financial sector. Reporting for Love 97 News, I'm Clemia Neely.
Thanks so much for that report, Clemia. A young voice is calling on national leaders and educators to take school nutrition more seriously. At the recent Hope for the Future Forum at Bahama, youth ambassador and a recent high school graduate, Jcn News, delivered a compelling appeal for healthier school food environments, sharing her personal experience and vision for change. She said school meals play a significant role in the daily lives of students, yet too often those meals are overly processed, lack proper nutrients, and do not support students' long-term health or academic performance.
This evening, I want to share my vision for what a healthier school environment could and should look like. A vision that centers on student well-being and promotes a culture where healthy choices become the norm, not the exception. It is a vision where healthy food options are not just available, but prioritized. Today, Many students are served meals that fall short on meeting their daily nutritional needs, leading to the development of poor eating habits. This needs to change.
Ms. Rowe proposed simple but effective steps like incorporating more fruits and vegetables into school meals and encouraging vendors near school campuses to provide nutritious options.
Students deserve access to more fruits, vegetables, and well-balanced meals that support their growth and learning. Ideally, vendors in and around school campuses should be encouraged or even required to offer healthier options to students. Instead of sodas and chips, they could provide nutritious snacks like fresh fruit or salads. Even simple steps like adding vegetables to meals already provided in our cafeterias or ensuring portion sizes are reasonable can go a long way.
The youth ambassador issued a warning: if nothing is done, today's unhealthy eating habits could lead to a rise in chronic diseases in the next generation of Bahamians. Her message was clear: unhealthy children become unhealthy adults, and without immediate change, the health of the nation is at risk. The Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Michael Dowell, as well as the Minister of Education, Glenys Hannah Martin, were both in attendance. And finally, in this segment, last month, hundreds of enthusiastic party members and supporters showed up for the Progressive Liberal Party's Eastern Link-Up at the Charles Carter Community Park. Well, tonight at historic Windsor Park, the PLP will continue with what it is calling the Central Link-Up, featuring the Centerville, Angliston, Freetown, and Marathon constituencies. The Member of Parliament for each of those constituencies will speak, along with the Deputy Prime Minister Chester Cooper, but Prime Minister Philip Davis will be the keynote speaker. The event begins at 8 p.m., and you can also view on Facebook and the PLP's YouTube pages. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back following these commercials.